You know something, guys? All this old real estate is really getting old. Let me explain what I mean. We are in a mobile home park, and you can see behind me, I guess this is probably a manufactured home, not a mobile home. But here's the problem, guys. This place is listed for sale for $159,000, and this is probably the cheapest listing in all of Marin County that you could probably move into right now. But here's the thing. This was built in 1965. They had this place under contract before, and the buyer backed out based on the inspection report. And it says right here in the description, as you can see, that they decided to make some upgrades, and then they ended up raising the price by $10,000. So my question is, like, when you're dealing with something like this, if you want to move into a mobile home park like this, why wouldn't you just buy a new mobile home or manufactured home, whatever it is that you want to put on your lot? Why would you just, move into this place that's from 1965? I don't understand why anybody would do that. I mean, you can see, look, all these places are extremely old. Now, I don't know if the people who own the park won't let you put a new one here or what's the deal, but I doubt it because I see a few other new ones as well. It just seems like they're trying to get away with murder by selling this old mobile home from 1965 for $159,000. I mean, everything is just totally upside down when I see that. And in case you want to know where this is called the Marin Mobile Home Park. So this is probably like the cheapest place to live in all of Marin County. And it's actually not bad. It seems like a pretty nice little community here, actually. And there's convenient access to the highway. You can kind of hear it a little bit from here. But overall, it doesn't seem like a bad place to live. I can see why somebody would buy that because the price is so cheap. But 1965, guys, come on. This is just a scam at this point when they're charging people that much to stay here. And by the way, I'm pretty sure I brought all of the Florida weather patterns here to California. When I was down in Southern California a few days after I left, they literally had their first hurricane in the last like 40 something years. And now, today, as I'm shooting this video, is literally going to be like the hottest day that the Bay Area is gonna have all year. So it's like 90 degrees out here right now, no joke. But even though it's 90 degrees, it still doesn't feel that bad. Just like when I stopped in the other desert communities and things along the way, 90 degrees here doesn't feel as hot as it does in Florida because there's really no humidity. In fact, it's super dry out right now. It's extremely dry heat at 90 degrees today. Now, the idea that I had with this video and the premise of this is that, I'm just getting tired of seeing all these old houses for sale in general at millions of dollars. Obviously, this is kind of a California and Florida problem where you're talking millions of dollars for an old house. It's probably not like that everywhere across the country, but in the Northeast, you have expensive places like New York and Massachusetts, places like that. So I'm sure a lot of people can relate. And even if it's not millions of dollars, if it's $500-600 grand for a house that was built 70, 100 years ago, still sounds like a ripoff to me. And the biggest problem to me, guys, is all these houses that people are trying to sell that are like 70, 50, 100 years old are basically past their expiration date, okay? You see these old houses that people bought for a fraction of what they're asking you to pay for today, and a very small fraction at that. The maintenance costs on the house back then was probably practically next to nothing because number one, the house is brand new, so new houses tend to have fewer problems than an existing house that's 50 years old. And on top of that, if you actually did need to do any work on the house, people were more handy back then. People could probably do a lot of the repairs themselves versus today. Even if not, if you had to hire someone, it would cost far less than it would today. Labor costs are through the roof, replacement costs on everything is through the roof, material costs is through the roof. But now young people today are supposed to just pony up the dough and pay all these big bucks for these old houses? No. You're talking houses that are 100 years old that probably need a ton of maintenance, and you're supposed to pay top dollar, the highest price anybody's ever paid for the house, and you're going to pay a higher interest rate too, because now mortgage rates are basically at 8% for most people, if not higher. And on top of that, you get stuck with all the problems that the house has after sitting there for 100 years that people didn't fix. Sounds like an awesome deal, right? Even take this house, for example, here that I walked past the other day in Fairfax, California. This house was $1.125 million, and the monthly house payment on this would be almost $8,000 per month, and that's with a 20% down payment. And anybody who wants to do the math, a 20% down payment on 1.125 million is $225K, guys. You could pay cash for a house and a lot of other places in the country for that, but that's just the down payment on this small old 100-year-old house. Oh, but wait, it gets better. This house was built in 1925. Back in 2015, somebody actually paid $760,000 for this house, which is substantially less than what they're asking now, but still a lot of money for a house that old. It's not even a full house. The actual house is just a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and then it comes with a studio unit in the back, and they're marketing this as a duplex, when really it's just a small 1-bedroom, 1-bath house with an ADU in the backyard, is what it really is. And they want you to pay $1.125 million for it. And if you just run through the pictures of this place quickly, you will see that this place needs a ton of upgrades. You would have to basically renovate the entire place to bring it up to today's living standards. Everything's extremely old and outdated, probably smells bad too. You know, the place needs to be gutted and needs to be renovated to make it nice and modern. And we're just talking about the cosmetics here. We're not even talking about the functionality of the house with the electrical, the plumbing, the structure. What about all that stuff as well? All these things can greatly impact not only the value of the house, but the extent to the amount of work that needs to be done on it too. So now we're walking a little bit away from the trailer park, and we're gonna go towards this area. It's like a walkway where the only way you can get to any of these houses over here is by walking, guys. It's kind of crazy. I've never seen anything like this before, but let's head over here. Now back to what I was saying, I'm not a general contractor, but if I had to guess, I would imagine that this house that we were looking at here in Fairfax probably needs a good $200,000 to $300,000 worth of renovations to bring it up to today's modern living standard. Not only are you supposed to come up with a $225,000 down payment, but also you're going to pay $1.125 million for it, have an $8,000 a month mortgage payment. Oh, and you're supposed to come up with an extra $200,000 to $300,000 to renovate. I mean, this is totally insane that people actually buy houses like this, in my opinion. Like, I would never buy this, guys. Never. Even if I was rich, I wouldn't buy it because it just makes no sense to me. I don't get it. Somehow today's young home buyers are supposed to come in here and do this. And also, at what point does it even make any sense to buy a place like that when you can just rip it down and build a brand new house? Just like this mobile home that we looked at a little bit ago. Like, at what point does it make sense to even buy these old properties, guys? I think it's a shame that young people today are supposed to pay all of this, and this is just supposed to be normal. You know, people that built these houses, say 100 years ago, or you see a lot of houses that are from like the 60s and 70s or whatever, they got to live in that house brand new with relatively no maintenance issues. You're seeing this as well with all these old condos across the country, especially in Florida, that are facing these strict mandates that are going to be coming up in 2025. And people are supposed to pay top dollar for these condos, pay big special assessments because the board wasn't running the building right for the past 40 or 50 years. They're all broke, they have no money. And on top of that, you're supposed to pay the highest HOA fee ever because all the insurance and carrying costs are higher than ever, and that's supposed to be a good deal today. No, it just isn't. It's a horrible deal. And even in this area that we're walking in right now, there's a house that they have been trying to sell since 2019, guys. Now, I don't know exactly where it is around here because we're just walking, we're not on the street, but I'm putting up the picture of it, and you can see, first of all, you can't even drive here. So this is the only way to get to the front of your house is by walking in this little area. It's almost like the houseboat communities that we've seen in Sausalito, but instead they're actually real houses on stilts in the middle of this marsh. Now, this house that I'm referring to was only built in 1980, so it's not quite as old as the last example, but it's still, you know, a 50-year-old house almost. That's still pretty old for a house. It's getting to the point where it's gonna need quite a few major renovations and things like that, or problems that are starting to form if they haven't been addressed already. And you still have to pay another $1.145 million for the house. Oh yeah, it's actually this one right here. This is one I'll show you guys. You can see the for sale sign in the front. So I mean, this is cool. It's a cool setup that they have here. It's definitely something unique and interesting that I've never seen before. But I mean, can you imagine the struggle, guys, that you have to park your car somewhere else? You can't park your car by your front door. You don't have a garage. You have to just walk here only. If you need to bring in groceries or materials for, renovations and things, all up and down this boardwalk. That's it. And as you can tell, literally like the first half of this video is just a rant from me being pissed off about the whole situation of how much things cost. And people are just expected to pay it as if this is business as usual today. And there's nothing to be seen here. But I think it's just a travesty, guys. I really think it's a horrible situation, and I will move on to the next topic now. You can sit with your own thoughts on that. And so here's the next thing. 6 states right now are going to be sending out stimulus checks in October. That's right, the stimmies are back. And believe it or not, it's coming from states that you probably least expect it from. Right away, you first come to mind California, New York. Well, California is one of them, but New York's not on the list. In fact, first one on the list, Alabama, guys. They're going to be giving people a $300 tax rebate this summer, and that's for married couples. And if you're single, you get $150. California, I don't know exactly how much people are going to be getting, but it says that anybody who filed a 2020 California tax return by the end of 2021 is eligible to receive one of these stimulus checks. In Colorado, they're giving people what they're calling a property tax, rent, and heat credit. And this is worth about $1,044. And you need to show proof that your income doesn't exceed about $17,000 a year if you're filing alone, or about $23,000 a year if you file jointly. Now the next state that's doing stimmy checks, Georgia. You wouldn't think Georgia would be on the list, or Alabama for that matter, right? They're giving taxpayers a rebate up to $500, and that's for everybody who filed a tax return in 2021 and in 2022. In Alaska, these people are actually getting a significant stimulus check, okay? For 2023, people are getting almost $3,300, guys. And for 2022, people are getting $1,300 as long as you fill out an application by the March 31st deadline. So all this has been in the works for quite some time, actually. And another one is Montana, another state that you would never guess that they're doing this, but they are. And the only thing I like about this one is what they're calling it. They're saying that Montana is giving people a property tax rebate of $675. And in order for you to get this, you had to own or live in a Montana property as their principal residence for at least 7 months of the year. And you also had to have paid property taxes on your house that year. So then you automatically get a $675 check from the state of Montana. All this is it's all free money, guys. More free money. You can see that these are experiments that they're running because, this is something that you really didn't see in the past, although we did have tax credits and we did have different things like that people would get. But now some places are actually taking this a step further. In Colorado, in Denver, for example, they tried a universal basic income program, and they're saying that giving direct cash payments to homeless people helped reduce homelessness. Now they're also saying when this experiment began, that 6% of the people who were getting the $1,000 per month were living outside and sleeping on the street. And 6 months later, that number fell to 0. So all of those people that were getting the $1,000 a month found a real place to live. And the group that received the large lump sum went from a decline of 10% of them sleeping outdoors to 3% of them sleeping outdoors. And the people that even just got the $50 a month moved indoors from 8% down to 4%. So they're claiming that giving people money is going to solve the homeless problem. That's what they're basically telling us with this experiment. They're claiming a lot of these people actually got their own place, and 34% of them now reside in their own home or apartment, and only 8% of them had their own place or apartment just a year ago. Well, that's one way to do it. You load up the bicycle with a little trailer and fill it all the way down this boardwalk. That's a good way to do it. And of course, they're trying more of these universal basic income things in different areas across the country as well. San Francisco has one. They're doing it in Philadelphia. They have one in upstate New York. They have one in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So you're probably going to see more and more places try to experiment with this and see if just giving people money starts working to get people off the streets. However, to me, this sounds like it's only going to work for the right homeless people, guys. It's like, it doesn't matter how much money you offer you know, somebody who has a mental illness or drug addict that has an addiction problem, if you give them money, they're just going to spend it on probably drugs or something that they're not supposed to. So this can help the right people who are homeless strictly because of financial reasons. But as far as trying to help everybody with this, I think it's a losing battle right from the beginning. So to me, if they're going to be giving money to people like this, trying to get people off the street, there needs to be some sort of screening process. Like they should probably be drug testing people and doing a little evaluation to see why people are homeless to begin with, to make sure at least if they're going to do programs like this, it goes to the right people who are actually going to be able to dig themselves out of a hole with this cash, rather than just go blow it on more heroin or whatever people are doing now. And I don't think that's an unreasonable request. I think that's just a smart way to spend the money, guys. Give it to the people who it can actually help the most. And the drug addicts and the mental ill need different help that goes beyond money. And to top it all off, we have a new story today from CBS News telling people about why they should use their home equity before the next Fed meeting. And talking about pushing fear, guys, I can't think of a better example of pushing fear than a major news outlet telling people they should get a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit on their house before the next Fed meeting because interest rates might go up. Because what they're telling people is, oh, you know, there's a chance that they might raise the rates again at the next meeting. And guess what? Even if they do, it's only going to be by 25 basis points. So it's not going to make interest rates on all these loan products completely spike afterwards. Will it get maybe a little bit more expensive? Sure. But what's the real motive behind this? Well, basically the same as real estate agents and mortgage brokers. These guys get affiliate commissions when you click on the links in their stories to go ahead and apply for one of these loans. You read this and you're thinking, oh, I better get this loan. I better do what this says so I can get the best deal. Meanwhile, they're pushing people off the edge of a cliff. They don't care what happens to you after you get this home equity loan. They just want to get their commission from you applying for one. And to me, this is just so stupid anyways, because I'm sure pretty much everybody that actually wants or needs a home equity loan by this point with rates where they're at probably already has one, guys. And anybody else who doesn't actually need one probably isn't going to be getting one. This is where things are at right now. You have major news outlets basically telling people they need to borrow against their house right now before it's too late. The motive for that, the whole objective, is let's just get another commission. So keep that in mind anytime you hear people say things that don't make a lot of sense, you know? Because when I read this and it's like, how many people are actually falling for this? I don't know, but I feel like I might as well just put it in my video since I cover all these real estate and financial topics, because even what I think might be common sense might not be common sense to a lot of other people out there who could fall victim to this. So now you know. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.